All right, my friends, it's that time. It's Sunday Night Live. And tonight we are talking about something a lot of us can relate to. And I am holding my nifty microphone because you know what? I just can't seem to get the positioning of it right. So I'm going to see if this works just a little bit better. Tonight's live stream, my friends. And first, you know what? Happy weekend to you. Happy Sunday. I hope you all are doing well. And it's great to be back here with you guys. Look, we're going to talk about something a lot of us try to navigate throughout our drinking histories and throughout trying to get sober and throughout trying to figure out what it is we need to do in our recovery in order to stay sober. Look, I'm not here to preach about anything. I'm only here to share my experience, and I'm here to share my stories as well, and hopefully hear a little bit about yours. I don't know who just chimed in, but if you feel like dropping your name in the comments, that's great. It's good to see you here. And we're talking about strategies to quit drinking and what some of us do and what we think is the best way for us to quit drinking. And it can be a double-edged sword. So I love an alcoholic. It's always great to see you here. And you know what? I appreciate you dropping in. And I still haven't forgotten about that daggone hat. I'm waiting for the new ones to come. And you know what? I got something special on the horizon. So it is good to see you here. How is your Sunday going? And is this a better position for this microphone? Because I've been trying and I just can't seem to get it right. In just a few moments, I'm going to share with you a comment that I received. And it's not all too uncommon for this kind of comment to come through because a lot of us think that we can beat this daggone disease by ourselves. And unfortunately, no matter how we try to tame that beast, it just doesn't work out the way we thought it was going to be. So, with that being said, before I dive into this, my friends, I wish some other folks are on here, but I'm going to do it anyway. So I'm going to give a couple shout outs and then we're going to get into strategies that not only myself, but other people use or used in order to quit drinking alcohol. And did it work for them? And what could we do differently in similar situations? So big shout out to I Love an Alcoholic. It's always great to see you. Daniel from Veterans with Anxiety, and then known as Daniel's in Recovery. We hope you're doing well, my friend. And if you need me, please reach out. Lobo, always a pleasure. Timberwolf, Josh G, No More Wino Daff, AK Free Your Ghost, Steve, What Will Be, and my maker's Mark, as well as many others who have been integral to this channel and who have shared their experience, strength, and hope. Now, don't let this microphone distract you from the good stuff. All right, so moving on to the comment, and I'd like to get your feedback on this because, you know, when I first read it, I was like, that is counterproductive and counterintuitive, but I'm not in the place to judge. So what I want to do is possibly just kind of digest where this idea would come from and would it work and what would be some of the pitfalls. So the person who wrote this, I assume, is trying to quit drinking. I can't really pinpoint it because they didn't quite say all the information. So what they had said, what I had said was, what had happened was, the person said, when they think about quitting drinking, they have to drink in order to deal with the short term. And then when they have enough strength and focus, then they can think about quitting drinking. Now, at first, that comment threw me, and that comment made me say, I don't know, my friend. It sounds like you may be working towards the wrong goal. And again, I'm not in any place to judge, my friends, because we all grow in life and we all have different trials and tribulations and we all have things that impact our motivations to do different things. And quitting drinking, my friends, is probably the hardest thing I've ever done in my lifetime. So hats off to anybody who is actually, if they drink like me, if they're trying to quit, or if they've been impacted by other people in their lives who do drink. It's rough. It's hard. It's something that once you get that aha moment and once you get that click, life changes dramatically. Now, not always great, like I always say, but at least we can manage it. So, with all that mouthful being said, when the person said that they have to drink in order to deal with the short term, I can relate that to, it's real easy to fall back into this cycle of, if I just had a drink right now, or, I just crashed my car, I'm going to go get drunk. That for me now in this moment in life, it doesn't make sense. But when I rolled my car doing 120 miles an hour after getting drunk, and I figured out that I didn't die yet, I said, you know what? I might as well get drunk because I know the consequences of this. I know the fallout of this accident and, well, this intention, and I know what I'm in store for. So therefore, I'm going to get drunk so it doesn't feel as bad. Does that make sense? Like two nickels? Timber Wolf. It has been a while. It is so good to see you. And if this microphone is way too close to my daggone face, just tell me, my friends. I just get excited sometimes. I got two people on here that are just amazing individuals. I love an alcoholic, Timberwolf. So great to see you here. And what we're talking about is like in drinking in the short term, or drinking to deal with the short term to get to a long-term solution. Now, that might seem counterproductive, and I just gave an example of rolling a car, and I knew the consequences of rolling my car, and I went and got drunk because I was like, you know what? I already wrecked the car, so, And there are many other examples in my life, but I'd like to hear from some of you of what you maybe have drank over just to deal with it at that moment, even though you knew that it's not going to fix the problem, but you just had to dull it and you had to numb it. And what was the result? Did it work? Did it help you in the short term? Did it bring you the soft feeling that you were looking for? I love an alcoholic. I have to get up close and personal, my friends. My iPad's on the fritz. My new year began with layoff notice. I shrugged and accepted another job I had lined up. I also brought my first car so I can get to that job. Awesome. That's really incredible. So layoff notices can be something damaging. And unfortunately, let me take these off. Unfortunately, they are something that exists in life. But kudos to you for picking up another job and buying your first car in order to get there. That's incredible. And I'm so happy to hear good news. And I'm so happy to hear that a positive turnout happened from actually getting laid off. So that's great. I love an alcoholic. Thank you actually for sharing that. And we're proud of you too. So drinking in the short term, for me, it never worked. For me, I mean, everything that I was drinking over was there when I came to, when I wasn't drunk anymore. I was going to say sober, but it's not exactly the same thing. But everything was there the way I left it. As a matter of fact, it was always worse when I got through the drunk and through the haze and picked myself up off of whatever surface I was on. All the problems were still there. And unfortunately, it didn't give me the ability to get to the long term. Timber Wolf writes, I drank a lot when my son unavailed. himself when my ex left me on. Oh, I'm so sorry to hear that. I read that completely wrong. I drank a lot when my son unalived himself, when my ex left me, when my cat died, all sorts of things. It never helped. And Timberwolf, I've heard your story and I've told your story, and I relate to your story on some terms, but you are quite strong, and you know what? Keep doing the daggone thing. Um, yes, drinking will not fix a short term problem. Drinking will not fix a loss. Drinking will not fix your emotions. As a matter of fact, that it will skew your emotions to a point where you might not be able to come back from it. And when you later have to have, well, I don't want to go into that, but when your emotions no longer match your feelings, then there's a problem. And alcohol can do that where your emotions don't match your feelings anymore. So, unfortunately, drinking in those short term events of life will not fix it. As a matter of fact, it'll make it completely worse. And as far as the person who dropped the comment, you know what? I am in no way judging, because we all have different strategies and we all have different ways to go towards the goal of quitting drinking. That, you know, there are resources that we can use and that can be a big help for us. So, my friend, if you're watching this, you know, just reach out and, you know, I'll definitely talk to you and I'll definitely give you some resources you can use now. As a matter of fact, in the description of this live stream, I've already put a few. So, as far as strategies, Timberwolf writes, drinking doesn't fix anything, because if it did, nobody would be sober. You know, that's absolutely right. If drinking fixed my finances, if drinking fixed my marriage, if drinking fixed my friendships, my cars, my jobs, if drinking fixed all of that and the way I feel about myself, then I wouldn't be sober. Because right now, living this sober life, you know what? I can at least manage it. And I'm not saying everybody drinks like me. What I'm saying is if if you do, if you're an alcoholic like I am, I'm kind of dancing around that, then it's not in the cards and it's not going to fix our lives at all. DJ Better, it is great to see you here. Headed to the grocery store, DJ Better. You know what? I was going to email you this morning and I said to myself, hopefully I'll see her on the live stream. So it is good to see you. If you need anything, hit us up, okay? Have a good day and enjoy getting groceries, and maybe you can watch this on the back end. Yes. So before I go on that long tangent, I also wanted to talk about certain strategies that people use in order to quit drinking. And it might not apply to you, it might, but nothing is directed. So cutting back a lot. I'm guilty of this too. Cutting back, well, not extremely, but cutting back the amount of alcohol you drink per day, per week, per night, per month, whatever. And since this is dry January, my friends, I used to think cutting back to 9 beers a night after I get off at 1700 and have to be back at work at 0345 or 0430. That's 4:30 in the morning for you American folks. I thought dropping back to 9 beers would be a solution to help me quit drinking, because I was, and this is no lie, but I was up to about 18 on an average weeknight. So I thought cutting back to 9 might be the way to go, but I could never keep the 9. I could never keep the 9, my friends. And unfortunately, that didn't work for me. I just kept drinking. So, I mean, I'm an alcoholic, and if you give me 1 beer, I'm going to want all of them. So that's kind of the way that went. Has anybody ever tried just cutting back and seeing if that works? Because some folks, they can actually wean themselves off alcohol, so they've said. And I'm just curious if that worked for anybody else, cutting back on alcohol, the amount you drink. I don't know, perhaps. Kind of rambling because, I'm still lost around that comment. Only because, how can you get to quitting drinking if you're drinking in order to come up with the method in order to quit drinking? I don't know, but hopefully I don't misunderstand that. Timberwolf writes, let me put that up there. Cutting back was a strategy that never worked. I had to get my hams out and rip that Band-Aid off. I had to get my horns out and rip that Band-Aid off. I'm so sorry, friends. I am actually looking at this tiny little screen on my phone, so I apologize if I definitely misinterpreted that to begin with. Yeah, the realization that cutting back is kind of a fantasy. A lot of us are guilty of that, and I don't know. I think that's just maybe our brains trying to convince ourselves that we are going to get better if we just cut back. But that brings me to this, and I am not going to try to bore anybody. All right, so Living Sober is a book that I like to look at once in a while, only because it's short. It's in almost a footnotes kind of style. So I really like this. And I just wanted to read just a small thing under staying away from the first drink. So don't get turned off by this. I'm just going to look down and I'm going to read this and you tell me what you think. Okay, folks? Many of us, when we first began to drink, never wanted to take more than 1 or 2 drinks. But as time went on, we increased the number. Then, in later years, we found ourselves drinking more and more. Some of us getting and staying very drunk. Maybe our condition didn't always show in our speech or in our gait, but by this time, we were never actually sober. You know what? When it comes to staying away from the first drink, when I first started drinking, my friends, and this is not going to be long, and I'm going to put your comment up there in just a second. I love an alcoholic because I really like that. Actually, I'll put it up there now. Boom. So when I started drinking, I had this notion that my father, he was an alcoholic, and I had this notion that he was so involved with getting drunk. I thought that I had to find out why it was so important. So I did what any other kid would do. Well, most any kids. I went to where the alcohol was kept. I grabbed a bottle of peppermint schnapps and I drank it all the way down. And then I threw up at the dining room table. And unfortunately, that wasn't the end of it for me. But what it did say to me is, this is not really good. But I did like the way it churned in my stomach. I did like how warm I got. But as I got a little bit older and I started hanging out with certain people, I really didn't want to get super drunk because I remember throwing up at the dining room table. But I couldn't control myself. And I was drinking like, I think champagne or something like that. And my friend stopped at maybe quarter of a bottle and I stopped at 2. And I stopped only because I was throwing up and then I passed out. Now I set out only to drink a little bit with him. And then, you know what? If you're an alcoholic like me, you know exactly where that went. So moving on. I love an alcoholic's comment. I tried to control my use by going on a crazy shopping spree once. The logic was something like, if I spend all my money, I won't be able to buy drugs. Didn't work. Let me tell you. I am not laughing. I fully relate to that because, you know what? The logic is, quite easy for me to understand that if I don't have the money, I can't get drunk or high. But for me, when I spent all the money and I thought that there's no way for me to have enough to go get drunk, I found a way to get money. I always found a way to get money, and I'm pretty sure you can relate to that too. Is we have an innate ability to manipulate people to do whatever we want, and that sounds very vain, and that sounds very strong because it is. And unfortunately, as alcoholics or addicts or people with addictive personalities, we have an ability to get what we want. And unfortunately, it's either when we tire somebody out, when we exhaust them completely, or when we just make them feel bad about themselves. So that's just the nature of that beast. At least it was for me. Thank you for that comment. And Timberwolf, yak. I read that like a weird, like, commentary person. But anyway, so I got my nifty notepad here, and actually it's just a piece of paper today. And I have another one, my friends. So not only cutting back, right? Drinking only on the weekends. Now, the reason why I wrote these down, and it's may seem trivial to some folks, but the reason why I wrote them down is not specifically that I would cut back to weekends, because that's not a thing. I'm an alcoholic, so I needed drinking every single night. But what I would do is, when I was in the military, I would always say, you know what? I'm not going to drink on mission. I'm not going to drink on deployment. I'm not going to drink in the field. And those were my three big no-nos. We can tell ourselves whatever we want to make ourselves think that we have control. And unfortunately, this goes back to the comment that I received that said they had to drink to numb the short term in order to be able to gather strength and focus on the long term of quitting alcohol, quitting drinking. That might work for them. I say good luck with that, but it would not work for me. That's what I'm going to say with that. And I don't mean that in a judgmental way or to be facetious or to be discouraging. What I'm saying is, I am an alcoholic living in recovery, but in my active alcoholism, there was no control that I had that would give me the ability to quit on my terms. Does that make sense? Like two nickels? Timberwolf writes, hell, all I needed was $5 and some balls. I stole $5 out of my mom's purse, or I just stole the vodka. You know what? I relate to that. I support anything that helps someone get sober and stay sober. You're absolutely right, and I love that. But to your other comment, unfortunately, I had neighbors all the time, and I had associates around me all the time. And it was, for me, I would borrow money until they just wouldn't give me anymore. And unfortunately, that came at some pretty rough times. And I would convince people that if I didn't drink, I was going to die that day, and they need to get me a drink. And so, unfortunately, they did. But I am here. I am living sober. Almost 9 years in February, my friends. I'm so excited. And with Timberwolf's comment, I support anything that helps someone get sober and stay sober. And so do I. And so should you. And that's the only advice that I'll give, is that, if it works for somebody, then it works for somebody. My way is not the only way. And yeah, kudos. So I read Living Sober. You don't have to read Living Sober. There are some folks that they just one day look at the bottle and they say, you know what? I'm done. I just don't want to drink anymore. I don't like the taste of it. I hate doing the work in order to drink, and I'm quitting. And they do. And I think that is fantastic. I wish I had that fortitude when I was in the midst of it. So, yes. I love an alcoholic, right? Am I going to hold an anniversary stream? You know what? I have never held an anniversary stream. I think I should do that. And not to boast and not to toot a horn. I would hold it only because I want people to be able to see it and say, you know what? If he can do it, if they can do it, so can I. And I think that's a good motivator. And I think that it is a good way to encourage people that they're not hanging out there by them daggone sales and that there are people who care. And yes, so I think I love an alcoholic. I will, in fact, have an anniversary stream. Thank you for actually putting that up there. I am so sorry. I daggone have to get this close. Yeah, definitely. All right. So, guys, the rest of this time is actually for you. So, I spent a lot of time on the live stream talking, and I wish one of the things that YouTube would implement, and the reason I said that is because I said the word YouTube, I wish they would implement like voice chatting. So that way we could actually communicate instead of text. I don't mind text, but if we could do, oh, you know what? For the anniversary stream, what I can do is put it through Zoom and 10 of us can be on there at the same time. What do you guys think about that? And is this microphone any better? So you know who I don't see on here? I don't see Lobo. Maybe he's working or something. Tomorrow is MLK Day. So it's a holiday. Fortunately, I get to actually enjoy it. And it's also Inauguration Day for those of you interested in that. But yeah. So while I have this little book, and I'm going to just show it here. I am not conducting an advertisement. I am not conducting a pitch for anybody who's related to actually making this book. However, what I will say is it's so easy to digest, and I think that it will help a lot of folks. So check it out. I'm reading I Love an Alcoholic's Comment. Says, sounds like an idea to me. I've never used Zoom, though. Oh, thank you. It's pretty easy. You just download the application, download the app, of course, and register. It's free. And then I will send you a link for the actual stream. I can send it whenever. I could make it today and send it to you today, but I'll wait until February. It's actually February 21st. That is my sobriety date. That is the first day that I was not drunk. Is that crazy or what? I think that's insane, friends. And for those of you in the same boat, man, it's even crazy today to look back and say, you know what? I know exactly where I was 9 years ago. 9 years ago today, this date, I was in an apartment and I was surrounded by containers and alcohol bottles, well, beer bottles, and they were everywhere. If you look behind me now, imagine all you could see was beer bottles, cases, racks, little fast food containers, and just filth. That's what I was living in, my friends, 9 years ago today. Is that not crazy? And even then, I was I was a professional. So I was hiding all that. I was hiding all my wreckage. And what I found was, as a matter of fact, I wish I could put this video up, is that once I dealt with myself, the trauma that I had, the feelings that I had, the past experiences that I remember, all that, when I learned to deal with that and I learned to be comfortable with myself, um, it just changed for me. And I hope that you guys are able to do that too if you haven't. Timber, if you try to use your cam and it's good, then just let me know. And Timber also writes, she heard my story about that. You know what? It's life of an alcoholic, and of this alcoholic, I was just, I don't know. I had a double life, and one was a disturbed, violent alcoholic who was isolated, and the other one was I was a profession. I was in a profession of arms. And guys, please don't misunderstand my slur. It's from like TBI, and my teeth are messed up from way back in those drinking days. So sometimes I slur, sometimes I forget a little bit of words, but that's just is what it is. So I appreciate you guys being here tonight. I hope that tonight's live stream and these glasses and this microphone weren't too much of a distraction. And I appreciate all of you who chime in. And if you know somebody who can use the experience, strength, and hope that we have on this channel, share it with them. I am not consistent by any means, but I do try to keep the ball rolling, so to speak. And the reason I'm not consistent is because life happens, and I just try to come visit you guys when I can, and I make videos when I can, and I appreciate it that you actually pay attention. Or let me rephrase that you drop in and you drop your insight as well. Timberwolf writes, yes, when I was in rehab, my mom found 50. Oh, when Timberwolf was in rehab. And you know what, Timberwolf, I'm so happy that you're comfortable enough to actually share this way, because your story is absolutely incredible. If you're on here and you haven't seen her story yet, go check it out. Timberwolf, it's on the channel. And that's not a plug. Her story is amazing. So when she was in rehab, I guess your mom was cleaning out your house and found 50 odd empty vodka bottles. Now, the reason why I think that is profound, the reason why it's profound is because I noticed, and I'm so glad that I did not go this route. I mean, no route is good, but vodka is so horrible to the body. And to be living sober now, after that, is incredible. And for anybody else living sober, it's incredible, especially if you're an alcoholic like we are. If you can drink normal and life is normal and you can put it down and walk away, hats off to you. But if you're like us, then there is no off switch. And when you actually are able to find an off switch and somebody shows you how to push it down and you're able to live a life without it, it is so freaking great. And doesn't matter how bad my day is. If I'm not drinking, and if I don't have to drink, then you know what? Life is good. And I'm so glad I love an alcoholic and Timberwolf for chiming in and talking. Guys, so you have a big, red, wonderful day. Thank you for coming on. Thank you for watching. And I will put out more videos. If you want me to do a video about something, just drop it in the comments. If you want to hit me up on an email, it's one sober to another, the number 1, the number 2 at gmail.com. Or, and this is the first time I'm ever going to say this live, W and then Dornbos, my last name, DOORNBOS at 23 at gmail.com. I'll say it one more time. W like whiskey, Dornbos, DOORNBOS 23 at gmail.com. And I will definitely get back to you. And if my maker's mark, which I didn't throw you a shout out, did I? Yeah, my maker's mark. If you're on here and you want to come on, tell me, and then we will get you on and you can tell your incredible story also. Guys, life is a garden. Dig it. And I love you too. I will see you guys later. And Timberwolf, I'm still coming out to Texas in March, so maybe we'll meet. All right. So anyway, guys, have a good night. Thank you for watching. And life is a garden. So keep on digging. Okay. Bye-bye.